Welcome back to the Fly Fish Food Podcast,
We're back.
the Shop Talk podcast.
We're way more formal now.
Yeah, so we got rid of the troublemaker, and we have a kindler, gentler person. No.
Thank you.
As you can see, thankfully, Lance isn't in this one. No, we have Paul Brockbank here with us, a.k.a. Pablo, right?
Correct.
Okay. So Paul works here at the shop. He's been in the fly fishing world or the fishing world for a long, long time, right?
Long time, yeah. 78?
78?
1878.
78 years?
1878.
1878. He got his job offer from the Pony Express.
From the original Dutton Ranch in Montana.
No, but Paul's been working for us for how long now, Paul?
2 years, just past December.
Yeah, so usually when people come and ask me about Paul, like, what's the guy's name that's really nice? I'm like, oh, that must be Paul, because it's not me. It's for sure not Lance. But yeah, Paul's been working for us for a while. And if you've talked to Paul about the Cutthroat Slams that he has participated in, you know that's a passion project for him. Right.
So to specifically on the Utah side, just I think maybe Paul, and I'm going to be the Jamie.
Okay.
Mouth about fist. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I have to, that's my Jamie role.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't we start? So that, we're just going to talk Cutthroat Slam in general, but you've done Wyoming.
Yes.
Yeah. So for all the neophytes out there, what is a Cutthroat Slam?
Cutthroat Slam is a grand slam, meaning four, right? And I kind of stumbled into this backwards or not on purpose. My wife and I had heard about Utah starting their Cutthroat Grand Slam in 2016. Wyoming actually started this whole thing clear back in 1996.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're way ahead of the
They're
game.
beating the shorts off of us.
I know. I have a story about that, but I'll save that for another day. But Shelly, my wife and I, we were up.
Who is an excellent fisher.
Don't tell her, but she's way better than me. So.
Yeah, Paul's a professional net man. Anyway, sorry to interrupt there.
No, it's all true. We'd gone to Wyoming on a little excursion up around the Kemmer area, and I'm sure our plans were the Hams Fork and probably the Upper Green. Well, right before we left, I'd heard about a drainage off the Bear River system that it was browns mostly, but so we got up to Kemmer, checked in there, and we never made it to either of those other fisheries. So the first day we went up and hit this Bear River drainage and caught some really nice browns, but we also caught some beautiful cutthroats out of there. Well, the next day we went up and fished a little stream by Fontenelle, one of the drainages off of there, and caught, it wasn't our target species, but we were just and I noticed one of the cutthroats was completely different than the ones we'd got the day before. So didn't really think any more about it. We had documented those just on some grip and grin pictures, and got home and I mentioned to Shelly, I said, those are two different subspecies. So I looked into it. One was a Bonneville, one was a Colorado cut. I said, that's half of Wyoming's slam.
Yeah.
We probably should sign up for this and go finish it. The other two for Wyoming would be the Fine Spot or Snake River and the Yellowstone. So those were a little more traveling from where we live, so we had to kind of plan that a little later in the year. Completed that, sent in the required pictures is all you need. And it's kind of an honor system thing, but it's more about the adventure, and anybody that signs up for it has the intent to complete it. So we did that and got a very nice, and I can even show you if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Show some hardware. Show the rings.
So this is
Man,
Wyoming.
you're serious about this, Paul.
Yeah, and this is Rochelle, the fisherman. Again, me, netter, photographer. So this was the Wyoming Slam back in 2016. It tells you, list your areas where you were fishing. For some reason, all mine say Spot X, but these actually have names on them. Now, Wyoming has a new one. I'll touch on that a little bit later. The certificate is still the same. Obviously, doesn't come in the frame, but they have a medallion now that Utah does as well. So we completed that. We got those back in the mail. Decided that for the following year, 2017, we probably ought to try the Utah Slam. And it had it was in its infancy.
Pretty new, yeah.
Yeah, so we the next year we signed up. The 4 subspecies that you're looking for in Utah are the Yellowstone. Surprisingly, there is a area out
Believe it
in
or
the
not,
northwest corner, the only place you can get them. The Bear
Natively.
River, exactly.
Yeah.
Bear River, Bear Lake, and then we also have Colorado. We have Bonneville. Bonneville in Utah is one of the easier ones to get, and that's actually the hardest one to get in Wyoming, just because they're all in that Bear River drainage system. So, yeah, kind of in a nutshell. But I can tell you how you, if you come into the shop here for sure, we have a stack of these put out by the DNR. It tells you all the subspecies, really about everything you need to know there and where to go get them. But I've done it a few times. I know that Spencer has done it as well. Cade does customer service and answers the phones, obviously. He's done it 3 times, I think. So there's quite a few people here who could help you with this. And I would be more than happy to walk you through it. We can Google Earth. I can show you really exact spots to go complete this.
Yeah, because like one of the challenges there, obviously, are locations and knowing what drainage has what species. I know on the DWR's website they do list general areas and some creeks and bodies of water that you can go. One thing though to note, like the Yellowstone is, I think, probably the most difficult.
Correct.
Because it's way up in the,
upper
upper left-hand corner of the state.
But you can't just go get a Yellowstone somewhere else that's been stocked somewhere else, right?
It's because there are some, and I've caught them in Utah, and I was thinking, oh, this will be a lot easier than I thought, and big Yellowstones.
Right. Strawberry Reservoir used to be loaded with
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And there's some down in the probably still has some.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to go to their native drainage.
Right.
And so beyond the DWR's website, and there's other resources too. I know Paul's a good resource here for us. And like you mentioned, some of the other guys that we have at the shop are knowledgeable on some of those more obscure locations.
Yeah.
Most of them with the other subspecies is not super secret or anything. You
right.
know, there's
yeah.
A lot of public knowledge on those.
And you can catch these in really about any method that you want to catch them in. You know, of course, there's regulations on these streams and cutthroats.
Oh, I can't use the dynamite.
So what flavor power bait is the best, Paul?
Rainbow Sparkle.
Rainbow
always,
Sparkle?
So.
I thought you were a Lime Sparkle, man. Just looking at you, first thought Lime Sparkle, maybe with a little smelly jelly.
Yeah.
And some marshmallows on there too.
Cook them up.
Light fly fish for them, but I also make the power bait to look like a grasshopper.
Yeah. A mold.
Grasshopper
power bait mold.
But that's a good point. So like I hear all the time, well, I caught some really nice cutthroats at Strawberry. I think I'm going to sign up for the Cutthroat Slam.
Good point.
And that wouldn't count because that is actually a Bear Lake cutthroat put in there to feed on the rough fish. So that drainage, historically, the Strawberry River would drain into the Green River, into the Colorado. So that would have been a Colorado River cutthroat historical range. So
yeah. And there are Colorados in the vicinity,
yes,
just not in Strawberry. So cannot
so
use that one.
That's part of the allure there is like you can't just go to any place and have someone say, okay, well, tell me your favorite cutthroat water. They'll look at you like, okay, well, go look at the stocking reports, buddy. But that's part of it is like if you're catching cutthroat, you're in a pretty special place.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, we fish in South America. There are browns, there are rainbows, but no cutthroat. And kind of the same thing everywhere. Like they're pretty much home bodies, right?
So that's the only native game fish that Utah has, unless you consider, which I do, but whitefish, probably a few odd sunfish. But the cutthroat trout is the only native trout or game fish on the DWR side.
And let's just for the people, like we have some newer anglers and some people that haven't dealt with that a lot, but there's a difference between wild and native. So wild just means that they weren't born in a hatchery. Right. Native means that they've been there since the beginning of time, or whenever they got introduced in there, or whenever they decided to make their way there. However it happened, right? Not to get too deep into that, but they've always been there, right? And they're naturally producing fish, so that's pretty cool.
So interesting part for that for me is in the northwest corner of the state, which that's not a secret, and feel free to reach out, anybody. You can only find those around the Yost community. In the mountain range behind there is the Raft River drainage system. The Raft River drains into the Snake River. So I've never really understood how Yellowstone cutthroats got there. You would think that would be, I would think that would be a Snake River cutthroat, but yeah.
But aren't there places though that like the cutthroats that they had to be reintroduced, right?
Exactly.
So back there maybe a blip in that native radar, but for all purposes here, we're going to call them native, right?
So
is that how that works?
Not that long ago, middle of the 20th century, most of the biologist scientists thought that even the Bonneville, the Colorado, and the Yellowstone were extinct.
Yeah.
So through a lot of the hard work that this money goes toward, they found these in little headwater streams, and you know, Bonnevilles are everywhere now, but they were very endangered. So yeah.
Well,
That's
and
cool.
also like the Colorados made quite a comeback.
Exactly.
Again, due to efforts that similar to what this would pay for, and that's so there is a cost. Just to mention that in general, but people who come here out of state, we do get a lot of out of state people that will come and spend a day or two. Now, I am aware of maybe a couple people, I'm sure there's a lot more, that have done it in one day.
Right. Yeah.
That's insane.
Spencer has done it in one day.
Yeah.
His only time he did it, they did it in one day. That is a remarkable challenge because, like we've talked about, the Yost or Raft River Range, that is 4 hours from my house in Spanish Fork just to get there.
So I would spend the night,
Yeah.
then start the clock
Yep. Exactly.
that morning.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Maybe you need to do that, Curtis. Hey Siri, remind me to.
The disadvantage to that is, like you mentioned, for me, there was a time when cutthroats really were maybe my least favorite species to go catch. And then I realized, like you said, that anytime I was catching those, doesn't matter where it was a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be in headwater streams. You can catch these. There's a lot of lakes that have these rivers, but those little headwater cutthroats, I just don't think it gets really any better than that for me.
You know, and I'm with you there, Paul. Like, I think that as anglers, you get so caught up in just catching bigger fish and more fish. But the cutthroat is a fish that you should be able to catch and really look at that fish, even if it's like a normal old 19-inch cutthroat from Strawberry. If you take a second to just look at the coloration on those fish,
awesome.
The fins are bright orange.
Yeah.
You know, their mouth is bright white. And so, like, and then you catch a Colorado cut, first part of summer. You know, take those fish out, look at them. Like, look at them from the top, look at them from the side, look at them from the bottom. They're just such cool creatures.
Exactly.
You know? So, I mean, that's what's cool about cutties. You know, brookies are kind of in there as well. But, I mean, if you want to talk about a pretty fish, the cutthroat's that for me.
So the reintroducing the cutthroats in these streams, I love to see that in these headwaters. But I'm not a believer that they need to be in every drainage, that they were historically in. If we take like the Provo River, it's a blue ribbon fishery, one of the few that we have in this state.
Yeah.
If there were just cutthroats in there, that would be fished out in a year. But they're wild, reproducing naturally in there, and with a highway running right next to it and all the traffic on there, that river holds up remarkably well with the brown trout, with the rainbows in there. Cutthroats just would not be able to make it with that kind of pressure. So
I caught one cutthroat when I first started fishing the Provo like 20 some odd years ago, and I was kind of surprised. And my friend, he's like, "Oh yeah, you'll catch, 1 or 2 per day," and I never caught another one. And it's been 20 some odd years.
It's been a long time since but yeah, they did try, but they didn't survive.
Well, with the rainbows in there,
they
interbreed very quickly, and you breed that right out of them within a generation or two. Yeah. So, you want to talk about cost on this?
Yeah. That's
so
a good idea.
Again, I'm not the official spokesperson, so please check regulations. As far as I know, it still is $20 for adults to sign up for this. Kids under 18 is $10. And you do that right on the DNR site, just like you're purchasing a license. There's a place right for that. You can click on that. The license really has no expiration. I think mine says the last one I did, 2099. So you've got a copious. you can take many years to do this if you like. Most people like to at least do it in a season,
right?
So you can recoup the certificate and the beautiful medallion that comes with that. So that's in conjunction with Trout Unlimited, right? And all that money goes right back into cutthroat rehabilitation and restocking in areas where they've gone extinct. So
yeah, I think the other thing too for people wanting to do it, and we mentioned some locations, but if you were to kind of mock up an itinerary, whether it's consecutive days or whatever, but let's say you're going to do it in a couple 3 days,
right.
Because like we do, a lot of people come in the shop from out of town, they want to give it a
press
whirl.
For time.
Yeah, so if you were to do it in like the most efficient way, even if it were a day, so you start up in the Raft River Range. And Gwen here,
Paul's the dog whisperer.
Gwen loves Paul, and
We've become best
If you're listening to this, imagine like a 70-pound sheepadoodle trying to mount up on
she's
Paul's
trying to make
lap.
out with him right now.
Yeah, she's licking his face.
Gwen.
Oh my gosh, she's like passionately making out. Paul, Gwen,
Gwenny, come here.
come on. We know. He's pretty awesome. You go over there. We've never had an involuntary makeout.
She's just saying, "What are you doing up here?"
I was sure that would have to do with Lance and Brigg, but oh my
Like
god,
that, Paul, he's looking mighty fine. Get up here and stick my tongue in your mouth.
oh my gosh, Winnie, you're ridiculous.
She just got
where were
groomed
we?
yesterday.
So yes, Raft River Range. That is, I forget the name of the park out there. There's a big state park, climbing area, very popular. You can obviously find that on the website.
Yeah.
So like a typical male, I'm never lost out there, but frequently I have no idea where I am.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
see the mountain ranges, so you have an idea where you are. But honestly, I get turned around every time I'm out there. So you'd want to just Google up or a Google Map. Yost would be the community, and that would get you in the area, and then just start looking on Google Earth for some of those drainages. They mention the majority of them in here, like 1 Mile Creek, Sawmill Creek. There's a few out there.
Yeah.
Most of them are really tight, overgrown.
Right. Skinny water.
My wife.
So you take your 10-car rod there, right? Paul? Yeah.
The first time Shelly and I did this, my wife, there was a very good, nice biologist up in the Ogden office, and he kind of gave us some directions where to go. He had a map out there showing us, and I said, I have that same map in my car. Will you just highlight it on there? He was more than happy to do that.
Nice.
And showed us a few places, and we ended up driving clear up on top of the mountain range, hiking down into this canyon, fishing some really deep pocket water. We never caught a thing there. I said, okay, there's got to be an easier place than this. So we came back and found a little creek called Sawmill. Started up that, and you'd get, when you're casting in there or fly fishing, you'd get a take every time, literally.
Yeah.
But it was so tight, it was bow and arrow casting on a lot of it. You couldn't lift up to set because the brush, if you strip set, you'd pull it away.
Just like a giant tarpon.
It was tough. It was tough to get that. Since then, I found some little easier waters to get to. But yeah, if you got there early in the morning, knock that one out, then what I would do is head right over for the Logan area. And Bear River or Bonneville's in there too. And not to get too far sidetracked, you can catch a species in those drainages counted as either one.
Oh wow!
Because they're very
I see.
bred.
Interbred, yeah.
So, but you can't catch two out of there and count it for one of each. You have to go to another drainage.
Or just catch one and cut it in half.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we did that. We the last time I did it, I took a acquaintance of mine that I used to work with at Sundance, and she and her father and I had been out fishing, and my wife several times. And I got thinking one day, well, Taylor is her name. She's already caught 2 of the slams. So I talked to her dad, said, hey, we need to get Taylor out and finish his cutthroat slam. He's in construction business, and summer times are really busy for him. Yeah. So we were just not going to make that happen. So I got a hold of her dad, and I said, hey, do you care if I take Taylor and finish this cutthroat slam? He goes, no, I appreciate it because I just can't do it. I said, well, I need her license for that. So he was kind enough to take a picture of that and send it to me. So I signed her up without her knowing it. But so we did that same thing. We left at 6 o'clock in the morning, got out there, and right off the bat, she caught a decent one. Excuse me. And then I said, try a little farther. There's a big pool there. And then she ended up catching a really nice one there.
Nice.
But on our way there, I said, Taylor, we're going to get this mounded up for you, but we need 2 coins for that, because if you're going to display it, you need a heads and a tails.
Yeah,
so I'm going to sign up
both
for that
sides.
again.
Right. Yeah.
So don't let me leave there without trying to catch one. We got in such a hurry. After we got hers, we blazed out of there for Logan, and I got clear back to Tremont and then realized I didn't catch that fish. So unbeknownst to her, I drove back 3 days later by myself to catch that.
That sounds very Polish.
Yeah, that's Paul.
So we were right up to the top of the Logan. The higher up you get there, Temple Fork also, the right fork of the Logan. So any of those, the higher you get, the more cutthroats you're going to find.
Yeah.
So we were able to get those last 2 for her in 1 day. So
nice.
The others would be a little bit challenging from there. Colorado's, the Bonneville's closest. If you went up around Bear Lake, up through the Uintas, dropped into the Upper Provo, you would have a pretty good shot there. And then the Colorado's are all going to be on the east side of the Wasatch and the Uintas, those drainages. Yeah. So, but you could do those 2 in a single day as well. So if you had 2 full days, you could knock it out.
You'd in really good shape in 2 days.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, one thing that to think about, cutthroat are very picky eaters. They don't like to eat very much stuff, right?
Especially not dry
So
flies.
talk to us about your flies. Like what are your go-to bugs? I see a little collection over there.
I grabbed just a couple of, and just attractor patterns, like you mentioned. They're not terribly fussy usually. Shelly and I were in a place this summer doing another Wyoming slam, and we'd accomplished our goal on that stream, and it was pretty remote. But we had several fish after we kind of got back together that came up and just, no, we're not having it. And I was kind of happy about that. I thought, so these aren't always a slam dunk. They'd come up and give you a good long look and go, nope, and swing off. But little attractors, so I've always done really well with the micro chubbies and the stubby chubbies. Purple is always a great color for those, but certainly not limited to those. Your favorite little tractor pattern will get those. If I can, I'm on big enough water, then I always like to do dry dropper. And Lance's red dart and purple darts are just money for that. These are bigger than I would use, probably 16s on those little streams.
Yeah.
But just for, you can get an idea. Yeah, dry dropper. Ants work exceptionally well also, but not that fussy really. So it's more about getting there and getting to those locations, and So.
Well, I think that the states that do these are really nailing it, because it brings awareness. So like you're going to go out and you're forcing yourself to go far and wide to fish spots maybe you wouldn't fish normally. But number one, it teaches you that there are fish in almost all these little tiny drainages all throughout the state. So there's a lot of adventure to be had. But also it helps you appreciate the cutthroat, and you have to go. That's how far you have to drive just to catch 4 different types of this cutthroat.
Well, I mean, a good example of that, when we were, one of our videos from fall of 22 would have been, we took the side-by-side and we're up pretty remote in central southern Utah, and which is a Colorado drainage there. And we were crossing a little ditch basically on the ATV. And as we cross, you can see this in the video, you can see this little wake of a fish cruising around it, which you would think, there's
a little trickle of water in the middle of the road.
We didn't stop and catch it or anything, but it was Langley, Colorado. But it makes you, again, when you're seeing the fish in those kind of waters, think a little bit more about the impact you're doing.
And they've probably been there thousands of years.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, the cutthroat, I mean, that's a worthy fish. What else you got to show, Paul?
So just the Utah Slam. So this, again, is my wife's. Doesn't come framed, of course, but that's the medallion that they've had in the past. When you sign up for your $20, the Wyoming, when we first did it, there actually was no charge for that, and they would still send you the certificate. But now they are affiliated with Trout Unlimited as well. So your money is basically going for that, but mostly that medallion. And just a little shout out to Timmy Johnson there. He has the new medallions. So Utah has commissioned him to do a medallion for every species, like so in the next 4 years.
Oh,
so there's
nice.
there's a Colorado specific medallion this year. Next year will be Yellowstone.
Right on.
So that gives you more incentive to do it every year.
Go
That's
every year
way
to
cool.
do that. So now I'm going back 4 more times at least.
Oh yeah, you got to.
And again, this will tell you the drainages that they were caught and the subspecies. But I think they do a really nice job of these. So yeah, it's well worth it.
Definitely a
That's
wall
awesome.
hanger.
Yeah.
And then your collection of cutthroat here.
So that's another shout out, Galen Ware, who is a good customer of ours. We have some of his carvings down in our case downstairs. And I didn't really know Galen at the time. My wife was friends with him. She had commissioned this from him as a Cutthroat Slam. I think it was Father's Day that she gave that to me.
Nice.
But yeah, he's a local artist here in Elk Ridge, I believe. So it has the Colorado on the top. And I can't remember, that's the Bear Lake, and then the Colorado and the Bonneville on the bottom. Yeah, it's awesome. And a lot of the fish we caught on those were about that size.
Yeah, so you're catching some small ones, but there are some drainages that have some
Exactly,
surprisingly
big
big
ones.
fish.
Well, I mean, you can go to Bear Lake, and you could, that's
Yeah.
not an easy fishery to catch
No.
cutthroats regularly. But if you caught that, I mean, it's going to be a good one, and that would definitely count there. So
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Maybe we should do it.
Maybe we should do it. We should document it.
I know a guy.
You know, guy. Yeah, we'll take old Paul. Now you could be my net man. You're not going to net
Be honored
nearly
to
as
do
many
it.
fish. No, this is super cool. Like we wanted to talk to you about this. I know I've heard you talk to I don't know how many customers about the Cutthroat Slam, but it's really cool that it's helping Utah out as well with their native fish.
Yeah. Brett Prettyman, who is no longer affiliated with this, he's on to another adventure, but was a big promoter and advocate and worked directly with TU to get this going. During the COVID years, if there's anybody who tried it then, I know that the DNR was way backlogged on these. And it took a long time to get that caught up because of just staffing issues and things like that. But they're pretty well caught up. And I was in the last one I did that I was getting for that little gal. I was down to the wire to get that as kind of a Christmas surprise thing. And Brett, he fired right back to me. He was very instrumental in getting that. I contacted DNR directly, and they would always get right back to you. So they want this to succeed, obviously.
Sure.
If you tried it before, don't give up there. They're caught up now, and they've gone well over 1,000 now that they have on their website. If you just Google up Utah Cutthroat Slam, it'll take you right to it. And you can see that's how you sign up right there. It couldn't be easier. But you can also go in there, and there's a little search bar that says, see who got the slam. So I think if you want to, Shelly, my wife, did it back those years ago. She's number 179, and then Taylor, the other little gal we finished up with, was 879. So just in a couple of years, they've gotten well more than that have signed up. Not everybody's completed it yet, but that's pretty awesome. Go on there and you can see all 4 of your pictures. It can just be a picture of one holding in your hand, or it can be a grip and grin picture.
And can you hold it out as far as you want?
Absolutely.
With the wide angle lens?
The ones that I'm in that are way bigger than everyone else's, my fingers are 5 pounds each.
Where I'm from, we do the same thing, but they all have to be over 20, bro. That's caught on 6X of the 25, bro. I mean, that's a cool and everything to do your slam, but I'll just stick to the donkeys.
So yeah, just DNR anywhere will show you all 4 of those subspecies, and they'll give you a pretty good guideline of how to get to them. It's not a secret. They want you to go be successful at this, but yeah, please reach out to me here or any of us. But Cade answers the phones, does customer service, well versed in it. Spencer also, and Lance, I'm not sure about, but
this seems, Lance.
Maybe too
Why
technical.
would I want to drive 4 hours for a 6-inch fish?
I know
he'd probably do it. Yeah.
So, last year with gas prices such as they were, I know the winter previous there was a lot of people who would hit me up about this, and I didn't hear quite as many as I thought I would. But obviously that was a major expense to drive out there. So this year hopefully be a little better because it's well worth it. I mean, it just could not be fun.
It's an adventure like every location.
Yeah.
Also, this is worth mentioning is if you come in on a Friday, Paul and I are having the reggae day down on Fridays usually. So if you want to come and listen to some good tunes, hit us up on a Friday. We'll be listening to the Stick Figure most likely.
Exactly.
No, but Paul, what you work most days of the week, and you're always hanging out in the shop, so people will be able to track you down pretty easily, right?
Pretty easily. You can hit me up on Instagram if you'd like, Pablo Cruisin.
Yep.
Happy to get back to you that way as well.
PabloCruisin. Pablo Cruisin.
There you go.
Hit him up.
So yeah, just I guess in conclusion, it's a win-win. It's a blast to do. I would assume. We've never done it. We can assume, but we've fished most of the places that that these fish are holding.
Just haven't documented it.
It's phenomenal. Yeah, we will get after it this year.
I'm sure you've completed
I will
many
try.
times. It's not documented.
But yeah, just
and
get
one
out
last
there.
thing, you don't have to be from Utah to do
Right.
this. You can come from out of state.
In fact,
to
I
do
would
this.
say there's probably a good portion of, I don't know, but
There is
a good proportion of there are not from Utah.
Again, if you look at that site, Who Got the Slam, and just start scrolling through there, it's amazing to see how far people come from out of the United States to do this. And then the Wyoming Slam, just quickly, theirs did go up to 20 as well, but they do have a TU medallion with that as well, all cutthroat rehabilitation. There are some awesome streams there too that are an easy driving distance, day driving from here. We did that again this year in Wyoming just for something to do, and we decided we're going to do that on all different drainages than we had done it previously.
Excellent. Oh yeah.
And yeah, you can drive off some of those highways. It's just not a great way to get around Wyoming, but junction here to there to
Helicopter.
there. But yeah, you drive up 20 minutes off the highway, and you never see a soul there. So I would highly recommend that one as well. Again, from Utah County, from central Utah, easy striking distance for a vast majority of those. So
cool. It's an adventure. So get after it.
So one last thing, if you listen to this on one of your favorite podcasting channels, you definitely need to watch the YouTube version so you can watch Paul get attacked by an amorous sheepdog. It's worth watching. That was awesome.
That's worth the price.
Anyway, all right. Well, thanks, Paul.
My pleasure.
We'll have him back sometime to tell stories of fishing adventures and amorous dogs.
And dirt on Lance Egan. Yes. All right.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.